Hey, you guys. I'm sitting here on my deck trying to get set up for this live. I don't see that I'm live. I'm looking at my computer. It says that I'm live. Yep, I'm live. All right, so my computer's down here. So if I look down, that's what I'm looking down at. I'm out here on my deck, and my setup is such that my computer is right in front of my screen door, which is open because of Wi-Fi and whatnot. So if you hear any noise, that's my family. So if you guys come on here, please say hey, please, please, please. That's what I love the most about doing these live chats. Please say hey and let me know who you are and where you are, you know, texting, chatting from. Okay, if you feel comfortable with that. And of course, let's have a conversation. Hey, and Robert, good to see you. Glad I caught you this time on the live. It's hot out here, you guys. We live in Delaware, and it's about to be over 90 degrees out here today. But my name is Natasha. Good morning, Tracking Audrey from Milwaukee. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the live. My name is Natasha. Welcome to my channel. I just love to share all the stuff I'm growing, all the things I'm going through, in case it'll help anybody or y'all could help me out. You'll find all sorts of videos on my channel. I have 5 kids. 2 of them are adults, done with college and all of that, and one on her way to college, and the other 2 are home with me. I'm planning to homeschool them this coming year. But I wanted to come on here and do a live chat because have y'all turned on the news lately? Oh my goodness. Have y'all been listening to the news lately? And so, and Robert says Atlanta has been 80 degrees and rainy, which makes it cooler. Yeah, it's interesting because we alternate between having really hot days and having really cool days, and so I could definitely relate to that. Tracking Audrey said, I stopped a while ago. You stopped listening to the news a while ago. I've done that too. When everything happened with the situation that we've been at home and, managing the situation that's been happening worldwide, um, it was getting to me. It was affecting my mood. It was making me very fearful. And so to listen to the news all day, nonstop, ongoing. And then when everything happened with George Floyd and all of the others, and realizing that, we've been in this situation for a long time, you guys. And for every George Floyd, I'm sure there are so many more cases, so many more cases going on. And so, yes, tracking Audrey, it made me fearful. It made me depressed also, just like you said. And so, what I've been doing is you can't not know what's going on at all. So, what I've been doing is I've been trying to pace myself with the news. Tracking Audrey said I had to up my spiritual game. That was number one for me. What's God saying in this? What do I really believe? Where do I stand? I've had to really pace myself so that before you know it, at least for me, I could turn on the news, and before you know it, I'm on that thing all day long, and they just keep repeating the same message over and over and over. And so I've had to pace myself. And so when you pace yourself, though, when you pace yourself, if you say, okay, I'm only going to listen to it this morning, then I'm not listening to it until tomorrow, or I'm going to miss a day. Now I'm going to listen to it. When you get back on the news, so much is going on. So much has happened that it can really make you feel like we're on this slippery slope. I just want to read what N. Roberts says. Tracking Audrey says they want people to walk in fear. Exactly. And Robert, it's been weird because usually it is in the 90s starting in May. Same, it seems like it's back to back, and there's something. My grandfather watches it all day so that at the end of the day, it's just there. Oh, yeah, you're talking about, okay, so first you were talking about the hot weather, yes, and then you were talking about how you have somebody in your house that watches it all day, and you can't help but hear it. Yes. In my case, we have a big TV in the basement. We purposefully don't have TV on the first floor, and my husband and I have a TV in our bedroom. We have a sitting area in our bedroom, so the TV is not where our bed is, and so we can really control our exposure to the news. And it's like we have to be purposeful when we want to watch something. I mean, aside from your devices, I've turned off notifications on my devices so that my phone's not constantly going off with news updates. Instead, I purposefully decide when I'm going to listen to the news. And so as a result, I've been able to manage it really well. But this morning I had to go to the grocery store really early because we're having some people over later, and I wanted to get out there and get some of the things that we needed for that. We're having a cookout, weather permitting, because it's supposed to be thunderstorming and things like that off and on. But anyway, I decided that I was going to get my dose of the news this morning on the drive down to where I needed to go shopping. And you guys, what is really good? I was listening to a talk show, and they were just trying to assess people's reactions to all the statues that are being taken down. And I thought it was an interesting discussion because if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know that I homeschool. I've been homeschooling for years. My son will be 23 in August. He was homeschooled all the way through. And in homeschooling, I've also had the opportunity to teach other kids. And so I have worked at, a really small umbrella school. It's an accredited school. So for all intents and purposes, you can think of it as a private school. I taught high school world history. Personally, I love history. Okay, right now I'm reading a commentary for fun on Frederick Douglass that's this thick. My husband gave it to me as a gift for Mother's Day. And, it's all just a part of my daily life. And so, I remember when Blackout Tuesday happened, on Instagram especially, I remember not being aware. That was one of those couple of days where I had decided to unplug, and then the Blackout Tuesday thing was organized. And that Tuesday morning, I didn't know it was Blackout Tuesday because I had been unplugged. And then I got on YouTube and I posted about that book that I was reading on Frederick Douglass. And I posted about how I felt like the statements he was making in that book were so relevant for today without really fully being 100% informed about what had just broken in the news. And it almost looked like I purposefully, I was just so woke and I made that post. Well, kind of not woke because it was Blackout Tuesday, so you weren't supposed to be doing your individual posts. Supposedly what people were asked to do was to post a black screen. And I was posting about Frederick Douglass just like it was a regular day because it's just a regular part of my my life that I love history. I've taught history for multiple years. I've taught world history. And so I don't know how to feel. I have a lot of feelings. And I go through a whole range of feelings when I see the response that's been happening to injustice. Tracking Audrey says, have you seen the video saying that BLM was not real? Once you click the link, it sends you to another link. No, I haven't seen that, but I promise you, I don't believe it's not real. It's real. It's real. But with regards to the whole statue situation, as you know, as a history teacher, my knee-jerk reaction was a little bit of puzzlement. Like, why would we tear down statues? And then when I listened to the different arguments that people are making, that in places statues were placed of specific figures with the intention of promoting white supremacy, you know, I began to kind of understand why people are thinking that it's a good move to kind of remove those statues if, as a nation today, we're saying that we don't agree with those things. But at the same time, and you guys, this is just a conversation. I'm just wanting to chit chat about this. I'm not trying to get on my podium or anything like that. And I welcome for you guys to chime in and let me know what you think. I'm just thinking out loud. I'm just trying to process through this stuff because I'm wondering, are you in the same place? Are you trying to process through this stuff? Tracking Audrey was saying another erase of history. Yes, this is kind of what I'm kind of wondering. Like, what are the boundaries for this? Like, how are we framing this? How far will we go with this is kind of like what I'm asking. And what are we using to identify if this particular statue or this particular monument, you know, represents white supremacy? I'm wondering that question because I told y'all I teach world history, and we've studied ancient Egypt in world history. When we were studying ancient Egypt, we studied the fact that they habitually changed their history, like they erased their history. Their historians didn't include everything. So if it was distasteful to the ruler of the day, they could have that thing removed from history. So then the generations that came after them wouldn't necessarily have a full picture of history. And you also have to wonder, if you can leave things out, does that mean you can also reframe how you report things? And so when it comes to Egyptian history, I have a lot of questions. You know, famous I remember in the movie Moses, I think when I was a kid watching that, the Ten Commandments with Charlton Heston, you know, and, you know, after he kills the Egyptian and the Pharaoh saying, let it be stricken that Moses was ever alive, or let it be stricken. And, you know, I didn't fully comprehend what that meant. And so, you know, there's an argument going on that, you know, even if you take those statues down, it doesn't change the history that's behind it. And is that what we're doing? Are we erasing history or trying to change history? And Robert says, I do know the history, but it's just thought provoking. Yeah, I think all of this is really, really thought provoking. And Roberts also said, same, especially with changing brand names, Mrs. Butterworks spelling Uncle Ben, etc. Yes, exactly. Like, what all are we going to change? In the talk show that I was talking about, you know, was talking about how some of our major Ivy League institutions are named after known racists, known owners. And so are we going to change the names of those places? Like, what is it going to come to? And is that really what we need to be doing to promote social justice? You know what I'm saying? Because I've been really excited about the conversations that people have been approaching me to have. Specifically white people have been wanting to hear what I have to say about what I think, what my experience has been, and what I think will help, and what I think will make a difference. Not that I have all of the answers, but I can certainly share from my personal perspective. A lot of them are feeling confused and kind of alienated because it seems really crazy to them that this is going on. Not that I feel like it's my job to make them feel better. But at the same time, I'm sitting here kind of scratching my head if this is the most effective way to get the job done. I know as a history teacher, as a homeschooler, there's one thing I think we need to take a look at, and maybe people are taking a look at it, and that's curriculum in and of itself, not just homeschool curriculum, but the curriculum that's being used in the schools. The way we're telling the story, the way specifically Black people come into the history, and how the focus that we have on slavery and the quick run through of such a complicated era. It's always like when I taught world history, I mean, it is world history, it's not American history. So, to a certain extent, there's a lot that needed to be crammed in. But when I taught world history, I felt like, there were certain regions of the world and their story that we focused on a lot, and then when we got to the African continent, mind you, you guys, not the African country, but you're talking about a continent, and you're talking about a massively big continent, you guys, massively big. Okay. There are images circulating on the internet of how you could actually fit continents into the continent of Africa. That's how big it is for perspective. When you think about how many people live there, when you think about, all the different cultures, the way history was taught to me growing up, and it is getting better, but the way history was taught to me growing up, is kind of like, yes, we're in America and the majority is European. And so, yes, they will want to delve deeply into the European history. But as a Black child, I felt like, Black people came into the story during slavery, when we introduced slavery. And it's like you pick these these how can I put this? These wild people, these people who were in darkness, with their very primitive ways of life, their very savage way of living, their uncivilized way of living. And they were taken out of the darkness and put into slavery. And historically, the way I was taught it in school, we focused on what it was like for them during slavery, really quickly moving through that, and then super quickly moving through the Reconstruction, which I think has had a massive impact on what we're seeing today and on institutionalized racism that we're trying to deal with today. We move super fast when we're teaching it through the Reconstruction. And then, you don't hear about much about us anymore, Black people, anymore in the history that's taught in school until you kind of get to like the civil rights movement. And then it's all about Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, who were inspired by Gandhi. And then, it's like racism is over and we have all these opportunities now. And, look at how well some of them are doing. And look at how problematic some of them still are when you have all this opportunity now. And that's kind of how I experience history coming up. And so it really wasn't until I went to college I attended Cornell University. Um, that they have a really good Africana studies department. And you guys, I remember taking my first class. Tracking Audrey says, same here. There has to be order for everything. And Robert says, I agree and hold the power to create history. Tracking Audrey says, they have and will still make money from it. Okay. And so I'm sorry, you guys. I got to talking, and from now on I'm going to try to do a better job of keeping track of what you're saying while I'm talking. And Robert said it's because who has control of history? They have the books now where they seasoned it to make slaves in a lighter way, like they were happy to be slaves, and it wasn't as bad as it seems. Yeah, it's really complicated, and all I'm saying is that it wasn't until I got to college that I was able to take a lot of Africana studies classes as electives. You guys, it was like I took class after class after class after class after class. I wasn't majoring in that. I was a psychology major intending to become a psychiatrist. Okay. Tracking Audrey says, a shame we have to be in college to hear about our history. I think that's the root of our problem. That's where I'm going with this conversation, coming from an educator's perspective. That's what I'm trying to offer this morning in this discussion. You know, I took class after class after class after class. And until I was just shy, I think it was something crazy, like I was 3 credits shy of being able to declare it as my minor. That's how many classes I took. And it was really because of a thirst for knowledge, knowledge of, what kind of drove some of the things that happened here. Not more knowledge about the Reconstruction, more knowledge about the development of a media, movies and film and things like that, and how we were being portrayed in those arenas, and and heaven forbid to look at a wasp, excuse me. Yeah, I cry his name for stuff like that because I do not want to get stung. But anyway, as I was saying, yeah, what's up with these marigolds? These marigolds that I have all over my deck are supposed to prevent not even one wasp, but to be fair, like I see like one wasp a week, so it's working. But anyway, back to what I was saying, even more so than just the African American history, being exposed to the idea that we're dealing a lot with ethnocentrism. And I taught about this in my class this past year. The idea, the way that we look at other cultures through the lenses of our own culture. And to a certain extent, you can't help but look at another culture through the lens of your own culture. But I think the problem comes in when you're not aware that some of the conclusions that you're coming to can be because you're looking at the other culture through the lens of your own culture, and to try to compensate for that. Okay, so for example, over here, when we get in our car in America, the steering wheel is on the left side of the car. Okay, and it affects what side of the road we drive on. But when you go to someplace like England, the steering wheel is on the other side, right? And so if you look through the lens of your own experience, you might say, they have their steering wheel on the wrong side of the car. I think that's a really good analogy to help us to understand how historically ethnocentrism has caused a problem, because you view civilization one way. So when you go and look at another civilization that's organized in a completely different way, barring things like murder, you might view their civilization as being barbaric. Like, I mean, murder is barbaric no matter where you're from. But I feel like historically, we teach history in such an ethnocentric way. Okay. And so I feel that change begins at home, definitely, with parents teaching their kids differently. But if we want to pull things down, I think we need to take a look at the curriculum and how we're teaching the history, okay? Even if we're not saying overtly racist things, you know, realize that there were very advanced civilizations going on the continent of Africa. When we got to Africa to try to teach on the continent of Africa, the way the information was organized in the textbook that I was using, which I can't remember the name of the textbook, I no longer have it because when the school year ended, I turned my materials into the school. And for the life of me, I want to say the title was World History. I've had videos in the past where I've held the book up. I can't really tell you which one it is, but it's a super thick textbook, like this thick, and I taught it cover to cover. Um, Tracking mom, Audrey says, my mom didn't tell me anything. Yeah, and I do think we're dealing with a dichotomy of parents that either weren't informed themselves so that they could inform their children, or didn't want to have those conversations, didn't felt like those conversations were the responsibility of the schools. So, but what I'm saying is that I believe that even if you're not overtly teaching things that we would identify as being racist, to just introduce these barbaric half naked people, you know what I'm saying, into history like they were wild, and they were in darkness. Their intelligence wasn't at the same level as ours. And yes, slavery was evil, but at the same time we brought light to their primitive, underdeveloped civilization. um Kind of like belies, is not really an accurate representation of everything that happened. you know it was eye opening to study the kingdoms of Ghana and Mali, and the very advanced trade systems that existed, okay, before imperialism. um and so when I had to teach world history, it was like I was teaching not on the continent of Africa, but on the country. And, just little snippets. I taught on little snippets, like just a snippet of the topography of Africa, like the physical characteristics of the continent in and of itself. That could have taken multiple lectures. I think I had 2 to 3 lectures to teach on the continent of Africa. I actually think it was 2 lectures. One lecture where I taught on the physical characteristics of the continent, and why it was so difficult for explorers to penetrate, and how they were kind of isolated, and the actual region, desertification, and the actual makeup of the continent and all that stuff. And you know in in that teaching, we jumped in the three major ancient civilizations that are well studied on the continent. Even though each one in and of itself, it has a lot of significant information for us to learn about, you know like the salt trade, gold. You know what I'm saying? And then the next time I taught on the continent, we talked about it a little bit when we got to the development of America as a nation, where they talked about slavery real quick, real quick. And then the next time we talked about Africa again, it was to talk about how the continent was partitioned for imperialism, and then nation by nation by nation, quickly going through nationalism, and how those countries ultimately gained their independence. Real quick, you guys, real quick. And so, you know, it's world history, so there's a lot of material to cover. But can it really be taught in a year? And is there call to have maybe add an elective where you could talk about some of these other issues, because in that same class it wasn't really only an issue when we talked about the continent of Africa, but I saw it as an issue when we touched on Asia, and how our relations are influenced by what happened historically when it comes to Asia, when it comes to India. You know, the impact of the British on India, when we talked about Russia and the implications of how they felt after the world wars. You know what I'm saying? When we talked about the Middle East in 5 seconds. You know, because we're teaching world history in 1 year. Okay. But if we fully could understand some of the history behind it, you know, it can help us to understand the conflicts and the tensions that are going on today. But we cram so much of it when we teach it in school. You know what I'm saying? I don't feel like there's enough time to develop the kind of learning and the kind of you know, help students to develop the proper lens to kind of navigate the issues that we're dealing with today. And so when I look at the news and I see that people are tearing down statues, and to a certain extent, I don't know how much people in general fully even remember the history behind the figure that the statue represented. The history that they know is the information they're hearing on the news, and maybe not something that they read personally, because for a lot of people history wasn't even their favorite subject. I feel some hope in the sense that people are trying to do something to promote change, but I'm not convinced that that is really enough. You know what I'm saying? Let's look at the way we teach, you know, a lot of these things. And Robert says, "Do you know other parts of the world explain how other parts of the world explain history? Is it similar?" God, I don't know that anyone is exempt from this problem. I think racism is an issue in other parts of the world as well. It may not quite look the same, but it's still an issue. I don't know how other people teach the history, but having worked with the materials for so long myself because of homeschooling, you know, I see an effort being made for people to try to be more inclusive as of late. But I think there's a problem with the way the whole thing is structured in the first place. I don't think we can fully get a nice picture in a year. I don't think we can do world history. We can do justice to world history in a year. I don't think that enough value is given to history in general. Yes, it's a core subject, but I think a lot of students may feel that it's not something that's relevant to them as they study it. You know what I'm saying? People don't fully appreciate how understanding the history behind some of this stuff can help you to understand and actually see institutionalized racism, and actually see how some things just don't mesh because you really understand. And Robert says, I agree with you about the statues. And Robert says, you're right. Thank you. You know, I think history is super important, you guys. And I think civics is super important, you guys. You know, because I remember taking civics and taking health, like those classes that actually really have a high application to my everyday life now. Okay. taking those classes, like, I have to take, I can't graduate unless I take those classes, and moving really quickly through those classes. But now all the stuff you learned in physics about how the government actually works, you know, and about systems that maybe we might want to take a look at again. Like, I mean, don't you think we need to take a look at the electoral college again? I mean, considering the fact that, you know, black people at that time weren't counted as a whole person for economical reasons, not to give the southern states an advantage in population. Um, don't you think we need to look at that again to figure out how the electoral votes really should be distributed? You know what I'm saying? These are the things I think we need to be thinking about and looking at least some of the things. We need to be thinking about and looking at if we really want to make a change for social justice. Like, I was talking to someone, and she's white, but very informed person before all of this, has had her hand in the dirt trying to help. She was talking, I mean, let's even take a look at, she was talking about even the welfare system, how things are set up so that once you get in, it's hard to get out, you know. It's hard to get out. It's almost better to stay in, depending on what your resources are. Um, do we need to take a look at that and see how we can reframe that? What I'm wondering is if are people willing to get their hands dirty? I'm not against protesting. I'm very against the whole rioting. I just can't get down with that, you guys. I can't get down with burning everything down and then having to live in that dilapidated environment afterwards. I understand the rage. I felt the rage myself. I remember taking Africana studies classes, walking from class to class, just surrounded by white people and just being so confused about the stuff I was learning for the first time, and repeatedly asking myself, why am I learning this for the first time? And why wasn't it presented to me historically, as a child all the way through? Why couldn't it have been presented to me this way from the beginning? And, feeling real rage and, and trying not to project it onto all the white people around me. You know what I'm saying? But feeling angry, feeling powerless to change anything. I understand the rage, but it's also self-destructive to burn everything down around you, and then, it's in your neighborhood that you have to walk past every day looking at it like that. Who wants to live like that? I don't know. Adesanya says, but it is bad to stay in the welfare system. It makes one stuck in poverty, while in it, one does not see it. It's true. It does make you stuck in poverty, but certain things in the system make it so that if you don't see your clear path out, where you feel like you'll be able to get the same resources on your own, and you see that it's better to stay single. It's better not to be, get more money if I stay single, even though I have this man that wants to marry me. I'll just sleep with him because it's better to stay single, because that's going to mess up our money. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't promote certain values. Is there a way to rework it? Okay. And then you're right. It's a deeper and more complicated problem than that, because you have people that are on it generation after generation after generation. They were born being on it, and so they don't know any better than it, and they don't see a different way to make a path. And that's a problem too. But people are talking about all sorts of different things, like going into the schools and exposing kids to different fields that they might not know is a potential way for them to earn a better income. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot that we can do when we're done with protesting, or while we protest. there are practical things and practical conversations that we can be having. I feel like social media makes it easy for us to put something on YouTube or put something on our feed or on our in our stories or you know what I'm saying, and we feel like we said something, so we did something. But making these kind of lasting changes requires a lot of hard work and people sitting down and making those changes. You know what I'm saying? Changing certain laws. You know what I'm saying? That is what I feel is going to make the difference. I don't know about I the statue thing. I don't, if we got rid of all those statues at the end of the day, um, and we kept teaching history the way we're teaching it right now, what did that really do for the kid that walked past a statue that they didn't even know who that was or care? The statue's gone now, but they're still being taught the same way. You know what I'm saying? Adesanya says, but it is okay. I already read that one. Let me scroll. Let me scroll the comments down. I'm looking at my phone. I'm looking at my computer. And Robert's saying, and changing thought processes. Yeah, we need to change thought processes. Um, and we need to calm, I feel like we need to calm down. You know, yeah, there's all this rage that has been building up, and you have to kind of let it out. You also kind of have to allow people to be able to be angry without people feeling like they're a threat, right? But it's complicated because with all the writing, you kind of do look like a threat. But then you're writing so people understand that what you're saying will, you know, you're not going to allow things to stay the same. And so, you know, you are a threat if things are going to stay the same. But at the same time, is that, you guys, even as I'm talking about it, you know, I feel like, you know, the discussion is like this and like that and like this and like that, you know, but a change has got to come. But I think we have to make sure we're looking at the areas where it will be more meaningful, and that we do things that won't divide us further. I feel like people are very divided right now, and I don't know. It's been eye opening to be approached by a lot of people who are seeing for the very first time that, you know, these problems actually exist. It's mind boggling to me that, wow, you know, this is the first time you're seeing this. Wow, you know. But at the same time, I'm glad you're finally seeing something, you know, and I want to be able to continue um, talking to those people, and I want them to continue to be open. I don't want them to start saying, okay, at first, you know, y'all just went off the deep end, so I can't go there, you know? Or should I even be thinking that? Should I even be thinking that? Are you guys thinking that right now? I'm just wondering. Just wondering. But as an educator, I definitely think we need to take a look at these things. You know, it's a mind. It would be a mind-boggling job to overhaul a lot of this curriculum. It really would. And I was kind of wondering, what would that look like? Would it look like writing something new? Do you know how long it takes to write a textbook? How soon could we get that? Um, would it mean using the textbooks that we have and starting to have broader conversations about what the content says? That's actually what I did when I taught world history. You know, they read the content, we would have broader conversations about the content, I didn't use the textbook like it was the end all and be all, and what was in the textbook was a fact. I challenged some of the things even that were in the textbook in conversation, not promoting my perspective per se, but asking questions to draw conversation from my students to find out what their perspectives were as much as I could. I think one of the biggest problems I encountered was people not really being able to have a conversation around those issues because they'd never been really asked to have a conversation about it, just to memorize it and spit it back out. um, Maybe that shift in and of itself would be powerful, to have a shift where we don't just make kids memorize stuff and spit it back out, but we teach them how to have a conversation, how to think through things, give them the keys to reason through things and come to a conclusion after reasoning through something, or making it more important that they could build an argument about something than looking for a right answer per se. Big fan. I'm a big fan of that. Big fan of that. Because as adults, that's what they're going to have to do. You know, during an election, they're going to have to, you know, get all the information from all of the candidates, you know, and be able to synthesize all that stuff and look at it in the context of where they are and what has happened historically, you know, and what it means for them and what it means for, you know, the country as a whole, and then make a decision based on that. You know, have we taught our kids in such a way that they're able to do that? Ryan Laugh says, it is take down Obama statues. It is to take down Obama statues. Well, this is what I've been wondering, like, how far are we going to go with that if we're taking down symbols and we're tearing down we're trying to tear down ideas by tearing down physical things that represent those ideas. Instead, I want to get at the heart of the ideas themselves and talk about how we can change those ideas. Is that the way to do it? I think there are other things we can be applying our energy to. I'm wondering if there aren't other things we can be applying our energy to. As someone who loves history, you know, instead of tearing the statue down, can we put up a plaque? Can we put up a plaque next to the statue that gives you an understanding of why this person is problematic, you know, and why we don't celebrate this person? You know, some of these museums that you go to that have the statue, and then you listen to a video about the person's life, and you know, they quickly say real quick, oh, he had slaves, and move on to the next wonderful thing that he did. Could we change the video? Could we leave the statue right there? Leave the statue right there. And then change the video where you talk about the statue. Change the video and focus on how it's a big deal that this dude had slaves. And this is the impact that him owning slaves and it being okay and him being such a celebrated individual. This is a part of our history, and this is how our country lived, and this is what was wrong with that. Can we make the video like that instead, but leave the statue right there and make all the kids go in and watch that video? You know what I'm saying? Because when we take the statue out, are we going to not talk about the history then? I mean, maybe that's, you know, simplistic and of me. I'm just talking. I'm not no expert. I'm just talking. Adesanya says the symbols are representative of that era and are affirming how great and heroic that person was, which is not true. So the symbols need to go. Yes, I do understand. I do understand that. I do understand that argument, but does the symbol need to go, or does the rhetoric that this was a hero needs to go? Okay. Is there a way we can change the rhetoric? Can the statue now come to represent something different now that we want to present the whole picture? That's what I'm wondering. That's what I'm wondering. That's what I'm wondering. And that's where I was going when I was talking about, can we put up a plaque next to the statue? Can we change the video about the statue? You know what I'm saying? Because we want to represent the good and the bad when we talk about history. We don't want to do what the Egyptians did, which was to blot out, what they didn't like. Because history serves a valuable purpose of us being able to look back at someone else's mistake, someone else's error, or someone else's process, and either realize that it didn't work for them so we don't take it up ourselves, or build on whatever it is that they had. And Robert says, and maybe more black or other culture statues and their perspective. Well, that's a good point. Yeah, I would love to see that. Put up some more statues. Put up some more statues. Okay? Put up some statues about some significant figures that we hear so little about. You know what I'm saying? Add those statues. You know what I'm saying? That's true. I would like to see that. That's a good point, and Roberts. That's a good point. That's a good point. I think all sides. I think all sides. I think everyone is making a point. Um, but I don't know if one side has all of the answers. And Robert says, right next to the current ones. Yeah, that's something. That's something to think about and talk about, because I do think it's underrepresented. But again, as someone that teaches curriculum, and you think about, the body of knowledge that as a country we think our kids need to have, and how many years we have to get from point A to point B, how can we organize this information differently so that we're getting a better picture? I know a lot of it is really repetitive. A lot of it is really repetitive. You get some curriculum, you go all the way through American history more than once. The question is that necessary? Is it necessary to do it that way? Is there a different way we can organize the history so that it flows in a way that will give kids a broader picture? But I'm also concerned with, whose picture are you trying to give them? Whose picture are you trying to give them? Whose view are you trying to give them? I'm not a fan of propaganda. I'm a fan of presenting the material and giving the individual the tools to process it and come to a conclusion. And that's even how I present the gospel to my kids. That's even, I don't force them to believe. Belief is a choice that belongs to them. And so even academically, I think that should still be the case. Like, how are we presenting it, and what is the end result? I don't know, you guys. I hope this discussion has been edifying. I have a lot of questions just like everyone else. I'm just trying to make sure that I don't jump on anyone's bandwagon. You know what I'm saying? Jump on anyone's bandwagon that they might be driving because they have a specific destination that they know that they want to go, that they want to get to, which I might not necessarily know all the details about. And I jump on the bandwagon only to find out that they're going in a direction that I'm not interested in. So to avoid that, every step of the way, I want to be thinking about what we're doing and what we're saying and what the result is going to be, and is that something I can flow with? Is that something that the Lord would want me to flow with, if that makes any sense? But I do love the tone. I don't know if it's this way for you guys in your circles, but in where I am, I do love the tone amongst the people that I know, that people are saying, you know, I want to hear what you have to say, and in response, I want to hear what they have to say. Um, and that's different. That's new, and I appreciate that. And really I've really encountered people that are really actually listening instead of trying to build their argument while you're talking. Let me see. People are talking. And Robert says, I know it's off topic, but any log videos coming? What would you like to see? I mean, my logs, I've gotten to a place in my log journey where I don't even think about my hair anymore. It's just like it's a part of me. It just flows so effortlessly uh, with what I'm doing now. I have I'm using the same products. You know, in the summer I get up and I put it in a bun like this because my hair has gotten long, you guys. Let me show you. My hair has gotten really long, you know, and it's hot. Okay. Look at this. I could give you, say you want a length check. Here you go. Look at this. This is my hair now, you guys. This is my hair. This is where it ends right here. See that? Yeah, my hair does grow really fast. Okay? So you see all of this? You see all this hair? It makes me yes, thank you. Yes, it is. It's grown really long. This hair makes me super hot. Yes, my hair grows really, really fast. In fact, that's why I locked my hair this second time. Because if you've been watching me for a while, you know that when I cut off my last set of locks, I was loving my teeny weeny afro. I was absolutely loving my teeny weeny afro. But my hair grows so fast, you guys, that I had to be in the barber shop every 2 weeks getting it shaped up. Because I had a really nice cut that I loved. You know, if I didn't have that, if I wasn't in the barber shop every 2 weeks having it shaped up, my hair looked really rough, and my husband would complain about it. And so I felt like I was living in the barber shop. And, you know, I don't know if it's because of managing my own natural hair for all of these years, or, you know, if I just am a control freak when it comes to my hair. But it really bothered me having to go to the barber shop all, you know, every day. And I had to, not every day, every 2 weeks. And so I thought about how can I wear my hair where I'm struggling with it the least. And with these locks, you guys, you know, it can get as long as it wants to get without me having to mess with it. You know what I'm saying? And if it gets too long, I could just cut it off. And during the summer, if it gets too hot, like I am right now, like the 2 seconds I had my hair down, for just to show you guys the length, the 2 seconds I had my hair down, I'm boiling. You know, if I feel hot like this, I noticed that if I position my bun on top of my head this way, my hair is not heavy. If I try to put my bun in the back or to the side, which looks really even cuter for my face, I feel the weight of the locks. It feels heavy. But if I put my hair here at the crown like this, even toward the front, not, you know, on top, but toward the front like I'm doing right now, if I do that, it holds the weight and I don't feel my hair at all. You know, because being too hot and the hair getting in my face and the hair getting in my way, all of these things are things that make me feel really annoyed. And so I cut my hair. And so since I don't want to be bothered with cutting my hair often because it grows fast, I tend to wrap it around the top of my head just like this every day while it's hot, and then in the winter I wear it down more because it gives me warmth. And I love these flatter ponytail holders. There are no metal pieces to it, but it's just flat. And this is literally what I do to my hair every single day that it's warm. And I love it. I absolutely love my locks, you guys. So if you do want me to do more lock videos and you have a topic you want me to talk about, I'd be happy to do it. And Robert says, I just keep mine in two. Oh, you have locks too. Oh, that's awesome. I just keep mine in 2-strand twists now, kind of in the same space you are in. That was a thing, the drying process too. Yeah. Yes, thank you. Yeah, the drying process is something that I really struggled with my first set of locks. I started them with braids, so they were a lot more dense than these locks. And I had a lot more of them. So when I finished doing this bun, I usually have like a bunch of stragglers like this, and I just tuck them in. I tuck them under like this. And I am good, you guys. That's why I love locks. You can literally mold them like Play-Doh in an updo. But with my first set of locks with the braids, the hair was really densely packed in. So I don't know if this is a thing or not, but I thought it took a long time for that set to dry. And I had a lot of problems with flaking because I had seborrheic dermatitis. And Robert says, oh no, I have loose natural 4C hair now. I did have locks for 2 years. Oh, okay. Okay, gotcha. So it took a long time for my hair to dry. And I think that was another reason why I got really frustrated and cut the first lock and decided I would prefer to have a teeny weeny afro. But I loved the teeny weeny afro, you guys. I really did. And I already told my husband, when I'm old, I'm not gonna be having this long hair on top of my head. I already told him, because he loves my locks. He absolutely loves my locks. He was very supportive when I had the teeny weeny afro anyway, because he's like, it's your hair, so if that's what makes you happy, then go ahead. But he loves the locks. And so me being able to do this with this set has really helped me to be able to not chop them off because I get irritated real quick. And when you have hair that grows fast, you're not really afraid of cutting it. And so that's where I am. But I'll probably grow these really long. But because I love the fact that I could do this, and it's like having a teeny weeny afro. I don't even feel it, and then on date night, I could just take my hair down and he could be happy for date night. You know what I'm saying? And then when date night is over, and I'm good. I'm good, y'all. But this is my favorite hairstyle right now. So for YouTube, sometimes I think about that. For YouTube, it would be nice if I wore it in different styles or wore it down sometimes so that you guys can see. But the way my life is set up, if I choose not to record because I don't feel like doing my hair or having my hair down, you guys would almost never get any videos from me. So I hope you guys could look past that. But, if you guys want lock videos or any other kind of videos that I typically do on my channel but you haven't been seeing lately, please just leave a comment and let me know you want to see those videos. And I'm always happy to make a video for a subscriber, and I don't wait for 10, 15, 20 people to agree that they want a video. My channel is small enough that I'll make a video for one person, because I see you as people, not my stats, my watch time. I need to get my watch time up because this is not a career for me. It's, you know, I'm just doing this to connect with people. So if you want to stay abreast of all the videos, I'm looking at this wasps climbing behind this lamp up here, like, what the heck? So they're still coming on my deck. They're just not coming low. Because the marigolds are low. But anyway, if you want to keep track of the videos that I'm uploading and join the conversation, join the family, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on your notifications so that you know when I'm live, when I'm about to go live, or when I'm about to drop a video. But please, if you have something you want to hear from me, just let me know. Be happy to make a video for you. So it's been wonderful talking to you guys. Hopefully my rambling wasn't nonsense. Hopefully. And I hope you all know that, of course, you know, I want people to understand that you know, our lives matter. And it grieves me so much whenever someone says that, you know, Black Lives Matter or something like that. And then the other person replies, all lives matter. Like, it has to be mutually exclusive. Like, why can't we have a conversation about the problems that we see happening, you know, for Black people right now without negating, without negating, you know what I'm saying, other lives? Yes, of course, all lives matter, but that's not what we're talking about right now. You know what I'm saying? And if anything, when I hear that, I get more frustrated than anything else. Nobody's saying that all lives don't matter. We're just saying, let's address these issues that we're having specifically in this area right now. I don't understand why people can't get that, okay? And why people continue to put that, okay? And it's not everybody that's saying, let's address these issues, that feel like every single way that they're being addressed is the right way for them to be addressed. Okay? Everyone's not pro riot. Everyone's not pro anarchy. You know what I'm saying? In every situation, you know, historically, when you're overthrowing a system, there are different opinions about how that needs to take place. And, you know, typically there are people that say we need to scrap everything and start fresh. We need to burn down everything, tear down everything and start fresh. And you have other people that are saying, no, things are good the way they are. We need to keep them the way they are. And then you have people that are in the middle. We need to do something, but not that. You know what I'm saying? And all the different degrees of places you can be on the spectrum. Understand that and realize that, you know, and I think to move forward, it's important that we don't invalidate a person's voice and demonize a person for their voice. And we continue to have these conversations so that if you see that someone is really moving in the wrong direction, that you at least have created a situation where they can even hear your voice, you know. And that's what I'm all about. That's what I'm all about. So love you guys. And Robert said you always enjoyed these conversations. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Adesanya says, it's not the other lives that we see gunned down and often like that by government officials. That's true. That's true. And with George Floyd, I'm so glad that his case, you know, got the press that it did. Okay. But at the same time, I'm thinking about all the other cases that haven't received that kind of press. That person was just as important. That person was just as worthy of monuments being lifted up for them. That person was just as worthy of having a street named after them. You know what I'm saying? This stuff is happening. It is happening. You know, if you see one, just realize there are many more like it. But we don't all agree on what our response needs to be. I think most of us can say we agree that a change needs to happen, but I don't think we all agree on what our response needs to be. And it's time out for looking at the color of someone's skin and assuming you know what they think the response should be. You know what I'm saying? You'd be surprised. But I'm glad we're talking so that we realize that by talking we can find out where we all stand. If we're willing to be uncomfortable and have those conversations. But we got to do more than talk, you guys. We got to do more than talk. There's a lot of hard work that needs to take place if we want change to come. And as we do whatever we're doing, let's ask ourselves, how far we're willing to go with this. You know what I'm saying? How far? What are the parameters? What are the boundaries? And does this make sense for where we want to be? Okay. So that's all I have for you guys today. That's all I have. Thank you guys. I think this is the most I've had in chat. I'm so excited about it. You guys really talked back to me today, and I'm so excited about it. Thank you so much. Thank you. So you guys be blessed. Adesanya says, with Corona, things are not anymore as they were. Things have changed. You're right. Things have definitely changed. But let's try to make sure we don't lose ourselves in that change, if that makes any sense. I posted on my Instagram, as we have these conversations, just remember, I'm still the same me. I'm still the same me you chose to be friends with. Before all of this happened, I was always black. I was always having these issues of discrimination. I was always hitting my head up against a glass ceiling. Just because you're seeing it right now doesn't mean that it just happened to me. So since we were able to conversate before you saw these things, it means that we can still conversate now. I've had the interesting reaction of people, looking at me like, do you dislike me now? I always knew this was going on. You're the one that's just realizing this was going on. If I didn't like you then, I feel the same way about you now. What are we going to do to change things? That's what I want to know. You know what I'm saying? When you're with your friends and y'all are chilling and these conversations are coming up and people are saying really ignorant things, the change that you can make is that you can actually open your mouth and challenge some of that ignorance. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, that's going to be a whole other live if we go down that rabbit hole. Okay. And I'm also convicted and aware that we have to challenge one another too, as Black people, and reach back and lift one another up too. We have our own work to do as well. We do, guys. It's time out for leaving the ghetto and never looking back. Okay, it's really time out for that. Not saying that everybody does that, but it's time out to stop doing that. Okay, it's time out for never thinking about, them anymore. You know what I'm saying? What can we do to give back? Like, I've been thinking about that, and it's an ongoing process to stay involved. Adesanya says, indeed, we have to lift one another up as Black people, definitely. How do we support one another? Do we even try to support one another? Do we think about supporting one another? Do we support one another on YouTube? Do we hit that like button for one another? You know what I'm saying? Assuming you like what you're seeing. You know what I'm saying? Hit that like button. You know what I'm saying? Help a sister out. Anyway, let me stop before I get silly on y'all. But it's been a pleasure. So you guys be blessed. And I will see you in another video.